In this series, I'm going to give you a step-by-step roadmap to install an AI operating system into your own business. So we're talking about a system that centralizes every data source that you run. So we're talking about your ads, your payment processor, your CRM, pulls the data, understands it, and starts automating your business on the behalf of it. And by the end of the series, you will be able to control your business from a distance, from afar, wherever that might be. So you could be playing tennis or spending time with your family in the Bahamas, for example. This genuinely made me and our clients enjoy our lives again because we don't have to be glued to the desktop 24/7. Now, who am I even to talk? My name's Richard. I'm the co-founder of OnAuto. We've been doing custom AI development and consulting since 2024, so all the way back. And we've worked with businesses from all sizes, from your small mom and pop shop that runs locally, all the way through to $1 million a year whales. We've helped them implement AI into the current systems and helped them implement everything in between. For the stuff that I'm about to present to you in this video, on other videos on my channel, we charge about $3,000 to $25,000 USD per client. Now for you, this is all free. There is no charge. So make sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss the next series. In the last video, we installed the foundation. So VS Code, Claude Code, the environment is now set up and running. But here's actually a thing that nobody really tells you about AI tools. The tool actually is the least important part. What matters is what you actually put inside it. So the context that it has access to. So the structure that it can navigate and the data it can read. So right now, for example, if you open Claude Code in a blank folder, it's smart. It can answer a lot of questions, but it's blind. It doesn't even know your business. It doesn't even know your goals. It doesn't even know what you've already built. So every session that you start up with Claude, it starts from zero. And yes, there are some features in Claude and in ChatGPT that make you understand context. But what we're doing today will change it permanently, that it always knows about your business, your goals, your funnel, your data, your metrics. You get the gist of it. So we're going to build a workspace and the actual structure that Claude Code lives inside. So the folders, the context files, the Claude.md that gets read automatically every single session. And then we're going to connect your first data source. So Claude doesn't just know about your business in theory, but it actually knows the numbers. And by the end of this video, you'll have a functioning AIOS workspace with live data flowing into it. I've also put together a starter zip, the exact folder structure that's already pre-built. So you've got blank templates ready to fill it in and you don't have to build it from scratch. The link for it is in the description inside the WOP community. Apart from that, let's build it. Now, before we even open the screen, I want to quickly explain what we're actually building. Because if you understand the structure, the setup is very, very obvious. And if you don't, it's just going to look like a bunch of folders to you and you're not going to really know what to do with it. So an AIOS workspace has two jobs. First of all, it gives Claude persistent memory. So every time you open Claude, Claude reads a new file, which is called Claude.md. That's a lot of Claude called. That file tells it who you are, what you're trying to build, how your workspace is overall organized, and what commands are available for Claude to actually use. Without this, every session is pretty much just a blank slate. With it here, every session starts with some form of context. Second of all, it gives Claude access to your actual business data. So not just the data that you type in manually or that you screenshot into it, not the copy and paste data that you pull in from LinkedIn or similar, data that's actually automatically collected, stored in a database and surfaced in a file, which Claude can actually read at the start of every session. So Claude sees the numbers happening in real time. So we're talking about your revenue numbers, your pipeline, your marketing metrics. All of it is basically updated on a daily basis and it's always up to date. So those two things, persistent context plus live data, that's going to be the main difference between an AI that answers generic questions and an AI that actually knows about your business and the nuances in it. The workspace here is going to be the structure and the data is basically just the fuel. So let me actually show you both. What we're going to do is we're going to install the AIOS starter kit now and grab that zip file, by the way, from the WOP community down below. You can simply just enter information and you get full access towards it. I've already downloaded it here. You click on the zip file, put it onto your desktop and just open it up. And then you can rename it into something which is related towards your business. So for example, for us, it's OnAuto V2. Let's just say that, because obviously we have the OnAuto bot already installed. So on Auto V2, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the browser now, and we're going to install a software which is called Whisper. So Whisper Flow. This basically just allows you to speak to your laptop, and that speech is going to get transcribed into real words. So it just makes it a lot easier for you to actually implement it and speak to the chatbot and speak to Claude, so that way you don't necessarily need to constantly type your fingers out, and it's just way faster. So just trust me on that. It's free. Just download it, install it, and you're good to go. Then what we're going to do is we're going to open up VS Code, and we're going to open up the file that we've just downloaded. So we're going to go onto desktop, and we're going to open up that file. And when you open it in VS Code, this is basically what you'll see. So Claude.md, this is the brain. This is what Claude reads automatically every session. Context / forward, whatever that is. This is where your background information lives. So who you are, your business goals, your clients, your strategy. In scripts, this is where your data collectors will go. Speaking of data, this is where the database lives once we connect it. And in outputs, this is where Claude drops its work. So the reports, the documents, the PDFs, the analysis, etc. And in plans, you've got implementation plans for bigger tasks. Now let's actually take a look at Claude. This is the Claude MD template. So it's pre-structured. You just literally need to fill it in. There are 3 things you need to populate first. So who you are, what this workspace is for, your workspace structure, which you've already got from the zip file. So this is mostly just confirming the folders, and the session workflow. So how you want Claude to start each session. Now, don't overthink this. Write it like you're briefing basically a new member of staff. So this is the business. This is what we're trying to do. These are the tools that we use. Here's how I want you to operate, etc. Ideally, you want to keep the Claude.md file as lean as possible, so Claude doesn't have to read through massive amounts of pages every time it starts up. Now, the context files, they go a lot deeper. So there's one for your business overview, one for your strategy, one for your clients. So these are the files that make Claude feel like a genuine business partner, so it knows the full picture, it reads everything, etc. Now, you don't need to fill all of these out today, right? Start with Claude.md and Business Info MD. That's enough to get meaningful sessions running, and you can layer in the rest as you go. Now, what we're going to do is, if you've watched the previous video, we're going to open up a terminal. By the way, if you haven't watched that video, I would highly recommend it. We're going to open this terminal, and we're going to run Claude raw. There we go. So that way it primes everything, it primes itself, and that way it understands everything. Now, first session is we're really going to set this up together here. What we're going to do first is we're going to go into shell aliases, and we're going to take this, copy it, just mark everything, and I'm going to go to Claude and say, again with Whisper, please put this into the Claude.md file and install those shell aliases. And we just paste it in, and it's going to work automatically for us. Perfect. Then what we can do is we can delete the shell aliases, and we now have a well-functioning workspace. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Claude, and we're going to say, hey, please understand my business, ask me questions based on what you need to know, and just overall understand my business, so you have that context going on, or something similar. You don't really need to replicate that. And it's going to ask us the questions. We're just going to run through everything here together. So first of all, let's start off with number 1. What does the business do? Us at OnAuto, we help with custom development for other companies, mostly in the sales aspect. So everything that has to do with speed to lead, all the way through to nourishing, etc. So it's really custom development and also AI consulting on the back of it. Plus also we help other founders, businesses, entrepreneurs install AIOS systems into the current systems, and that way scale the company with AI. Number 2, my role is the CEO and the founder. We have a co-founder. His name is Callum Crease. My day-to-day looks like this. So I take
sales calls, I take classic onboarding calls, I keep the customers in check and do the YouTube and the meta ads marketing. Number 3, how big is it? We are currently at, so you don't necessarily need to give it everything, right? Just for the purposes here, I'm not going to leak our whole revenue system. But with that being said, you just go through that, and you keep asking, hey, have you understood everything about my business? Have you really understood everything? Ask me more questions. And only when it says yes, that's where you know, perfect, solid, good to go. Now, once you've done that, you have Context OS. So Claude knows who you are, what you're building, and how to operate in your workspace. Every session starts oriented, and then we add the data on top of it. Now, most people who set up an AI workspace, they stop at Context OS. So they fill in the context files, they write their Claude.md file, and they're happy with that. And that's already a significant upgrade, right? But there's a significant ceiling. And especially if you want to operate at a higher level with AI, you're going to hit that ceiling very soon. Now, Claude can know your business model. It can know your goals. It can know your strategy. But if it can't actually see your performance data, if it doesn't really know what your revenue, for example, did last week, or how many leads came in, or what your conversion rate is, or what the cost per lead is on your ads right now, it's giving you advice based on just theory. And theory is very, very useful until it really isn't, especially when you want to make big business decisions with the help of AI. So for example, when your pipeline is drying up, you want Claude to say, hey, your lead volume is down 40% month on month. Here's what that means and here's what you need to do. Not necessarily have you considered tracking your leads more carefully. Maybe there's an issue, maybe I can help you something. Not really, you want it to be direct. And the difference here is the data. So the current data pulled automatically every session, and that's what Data OS does. So inside the workspace, there's a scripts folder, and this is where your data collectors live. The starter zip from our WOP community includes a template collector. It's set up to pull from a Google Sheet, which is the easiest first data source for most businesses. So you can use it for your sales pipeline, your activity tracking, your marketing metrics, anything you're already logging in a spreadsheet, and you don't need to understand the code here, right? As weird as this might look, the structure is pretty simple. It connects to your source, it pulls the data, it writes it to a database, and pulls that file into the data/folder. This here is the database, so the SQLite. It lives locally in your workspace, and every time the collector runs, it adds a new snapshot. So over time, you're going to build a history, and that's revenue by day, leads by day, calls by day, all queryable. Most importantly, you then have a metric, which is the most important metric in any business, which is the month to date. So how are you with, for example, lead flow, comparing this month to the previous one? And ideally, you want to strive for an increase month by month. Now, in terms of key metrics, this is the piece that makes it useful for Claude. So every time the collector runs, it also regenerates this file. So the key metrics.md is a plain text summary of your most important numbers. And the /prime command that you run at the start of every session, it loads this file automatically. So Claude walks into every session knowing exactly where you stand. So today's numbers, yesterday's numbers, trends, the works, etc. Pretty simple. That's the loop. Your data flows in automatically. Claude reads it every session. You stop having to explain your own business every time you open a new chat. And it sounds very simple, because honestly it is. The complexity here is really in setting it up once. After that, it just runs by itself. And it's a living and breathing document. So that's part 2. You've got the workspace built, you've got Context OS live, and your first data source is already connected. In part 3, what we're going to build is the Intel OS. So your meeting intelligence layer, every client call, every sales call, automatically going to get transcribed, summarized, and searchable from inside Claude. So that's next. Now, 2 things before you go. First of all, the starter workspace zip that we've used in this video is in the WOP community. The link is down in the description. Grab it, follow along, and you'll have to set up in the afternoon. Second of all, if you're a business owner who wants this built for you rather than doing it all yourself and having to get confused with everything, that's exactly what we do. Discovery call link is in the description, and it's not just going to be a page. It's going to be an in-depth conversation about what this could look like for your business specifically, and you can also receive a little demo. So regardless if you work together or not, you're still going to receive some value out of it. If you haven't watched already,
Here is part 1 of this series, which is pretty much the beginning, setting up your whole workspace so that we can actually go and build and follow along with this video. I'll see you there, and I'll see you in part 3 as well. Bye bye.